Hi, this evening an update on India's stalemate with China in Ladakh. It's been going on for 18 months. But there have been two recent incidents of attempted transgressions by the Chinese troops. The first one happened in Barahoti in Uttarakhand and another in Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, on October 10th, senior military commanders of both sides held the 13th round of talks on disengagement of troops in eastern Ladakh. After the talks that lasted for about 8 hours, India said China was not agreeable and did not come to the table with any forward-looking solutions. China said India was being unreasonable and made unrealistic demands. Now, apart from these level of talks, remember there have been 10 major general level, 55 brigadier level and 1,450 calls over the hotline that have happened, but nothing has given yet. It seems China is here to stay, and I'm paraphrasing the army chief just a bit. Let's give you a sense of the Chinese presence after May 2020, when, as you know, China launched several near simultaneous incursions across the line of actual control. 20 Indian soldiers and an unknown number of Chinese soldiers died. Both sides deployed tens of thousands of troops, tanks, aircraft, and came to the brink of war. An agreement to disengage was announced in February of 2021, but implementation has been sporadic.
There's a map on your screen so you can get a sense of where the conflict stands unresolved. Number 1, Depsang Plains. This is the northernmost tip of India, which gives us strategic control over the Karakoram Range and the Daulat Beg Oldie Road or the DBO Road. Since April-May last year, China has been actively blocking Indian soldiers around 18 kilometers inside what India considers its own territory in Depsang from even going to their traditional patrolling points or PP 10, 11, 12 and 13 there. Disengagement of troops from Depsang came up in the October 10th meeting, but India says China wasn't agreeable. Demchok, this is some 400 to 500 kilometers south of Depsang. There are tents on the Indian side in which so-called Chinese civilians are living. Again, patrolling points earlier open for India no longer are. No resolution about disengagement of troops here as well. Let's go down south. Disengagement of troops has stalled at PP 15, which is about 30 kilometers to the north of Gogra. About 40 to 50 Indian and Chinese soldiers are in a face-off situation here, backed by thousands more. The other friction points include the finger area of Pangong So, Galwan Valley, and PP 14 at Gogra, whereas part of disengagement, 3 buffer zones between 3 to 10 kilometers wide were created where neither side can patrol.
Though New Delhi says the earlier buffer zones were created as per the lay of the land and respective claim lines, experts and retired military officials say the buffer zones effectively eat into what used to be Indian territory. In fact, in the latest round of talks, China's demands for a 4th buffer zone at the hot springs area was not acceptable for India. India's position really is that buffer zones can be, let's say, a step 1 or 2 of the peace process, but not the final resolution. This was dismissed by China. So in a sense, for things to go back to how they were before May 2020 seems even more unlikely by the day. At least 50,000 to 60,000 troops from both sides are stationed at and around friction points. Both countries have built massive infrastructure like housing, airfields, and surface-to-air missile systems within striking distance from the line of actual control. China is also developing roads and buildings for dual use, that's both civilian and military, in some of the disputed areas, which experts say is being done to add permanence and credibility to Beijing's territorial claims, very much like how it played out in the South China Sea. The one analysis that's gaining ground is what many have been saying since June of last year. China did not cross the line of actual control just to get up and go away someday, which means, as the army chief said, the LAC may become the new LOC. Before I say goodbye, I'm attaching an excerpt of a conversation I did with Ajay Shukla. He's a defense expert. His reportage and analysis during, prior, and after the May 2020 incursions has been stellar. This excerpt explains PP points and the patrolling differences between the two countries. I wanted to just sort of maybe spend a moment to describe what are the difficulties of soldiering in a landscape like that, as beautiful as it may be. And you've also written about a patrolling lacuna, or so to speak, on the Indian side of the line of control. Why is it that we patrol slightly short of the line of actual control?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. And its genesis lies in the 1962 war, when India sort of got a real beating in the Tawang sector of Arunachal Pradesh, and it lost in the Walong sector as well. And in Ladakh, the Indians put up a good fight, but there was definitely a Chinese victory in this sector as well. Now, after the 1962 war, there was this great fear of again aggravating the Chinese to the extent that they again march into India. So we all withdrew a good 20 kilometers from the border, from the line of actual control, and said we will not even patrol to that area because, the Chinese might get aggravated, the Chinese might get inflamed, and we'll have another war on our hands. So that was the status quo for many years. And then in the mid-1970s, the government set up a group called the China Study Group. This was a more confident India that had just won the 1971 war with Pakistan. It had liberated Bangladesh. So now there was a sense of, listen, we can go up further, closer to the border. So the China Study Group laid down what was called a limit of patrolling, a limit beyond which Indian troops would not go. It was a little short of the line of actual control to be safe. And based on that limit of patrolling, or LOP, the Indian Army laid down the patrol routes that would be followed by patrols, and each of these patrol routes would go to a patrolling point, which is a little way short of the line of actual control in most places, and in some places it actually goes all the way up to the line of actual control. So these are these famous PP14, PP15 that we're reading about right now. They are the patrolling points. And when we say, for example, that China is at PP14, and then in the same breath say, no, they are not on Indian territory, you're contradicting yourself, because this is a PP14 is an Indian patrolling point laid down by the military itself. So there's a dichotomy in what it is. So that's the background to this whole thing, Anubha. This initial wish not to alienate China, and now a sort of a very structured patrolling environment which governs the thing and makes sure that there are no incursions into Chinese territory.
Just a quick clarification. So it would seem that the Chinese side has obviously taken advantage of sort of this patrolling lacuna, number one. And what was happening on the Chinese side? Were the Chinese patrolling right up till their perception of the LAC?
Yes, the Chinese are patrolling all the way up to their perception of the LAC. Now, this is, remind you, our patrolling point, while it is short of our perception of the LAC, might still be going into Chinese territory or Chinese claimed territory, because there may be a gap of, let's say, 5 kilometers between their perception and our perception. But we are going only 1 kilometer short of our perception. So we are still going 4 kilometers into China's perception. So it's a complex environment, But the Chinese are going, they don't have, I think, patrolling points and so on, as structured an environment as we do. What is more is that they come in having built fantastic infrastructure, a good road network. They come in, jazz in on their vehicles and sort of touch the point, smoke a cigarette at the border, throw the cigarette butt over there to demonstrate that Chinese have been here, and get into their vehicles and go back. Our soldiers in many cases have to put on their packs and load 20 kilos of rations, walk all the way to the patrolling point, because we haven't been as smart as the Chinese in building infrastructure. And now that we are starting to build infrastructure, the Chinese are feeling insecure and clamping down.
So there you have it. I hope this was useful. My name is Anubha Bhonsle. I rely on your contribution to help Newsworthy do more work that's worthy of your time and attention. If you can spare, the link to contribute is in our bio or in the description if you're watching it on YouTube.